Graviton Beam Weapons. In the dawn of human civilization, fire changed everything. Then came the atom, a force so immense it redefined power and fear alike. But in the far reaches of the next century, a new frontier of weaponry emerges, one that doesn't just manipulate matter or energy, but the very structure of reality itself. The age of graviton beam weapons begins when humanity learns not merely to fight with energy, but to control gravity as a weapon. Imagine a battlefield where bullets curve, tanks float, and light bends around invisible fields. A single cannon can compress a mountain into dust or create pockets of distorted space-time. The soldiers of the future won't just carry guns, they'll wield miniature gravitational singularities. But to understand how such weapons could exist, we need to explore one of the universe's most mysterious forces, gravity. Gravity is strange. It is the weakest of all fundamental forces, yet it dominates on the largest scales. It shapes galaxies, forms stars, and determines the fate of the universe. For centuries, it was thought to be untouchable, a cosmic constant, not something humans could ever manipulate. Then came the breakthroughs in quantum gravity and graviton theory. Scientists began to understand that gravity might be carried by a quantum particle called the graviton, a hypothetical boson responsible for transmitting gravitational force. If such particles could be generated, focused, and directed, they could be used to bend space-time itself at will. This is where the concept of graviton beam weapons originates. At its heart, a graviton beam weapon is not about firepower in the traditional sense. It doesn't explode, burn, or vaporize. It manipulates the gravitational field around its target, compressing, stretching, or twisting space-time. In doing so, it can crush objects, disable electronics, distort light, or even tear structures apart at a molecular level. Unlike lasers, which lose power over distance, graviton beams could, in theory, maintain cohesion over vast ranges. But before humanity could ever wield such technology, an unprecedented mastery of physics would be required. Graviton generation demands energy levels beyond even fusion reactors, on par with miniature black hole formation. Early prototypes, if they ever existed, would likely resemble massive accelerators rather than compact weapons. Yet history teaches us that size is no obstacle. What began as room-sized computers now fit in our pockets. So too might tomorrow's black hole cannons shrink into orbital turrets or soldier-mounted devices. The first theoretical framework for graviton manipulation came from quantum field harmonics, a proposed field that could resonate with gravitational frequencies. By amplifying space-time fluctuations using ultra-dense plasma fields, scientists could theoretically create a coherent graviton stream. That beam, guided by quantum lensing arrays, could alter gravitational curvature along its path. In essence, it would allow a weapon to sculpt gravity. Now imagine that in application. A graviton beam aimed at a target could increase local gravitational intensity to thousands of Gs, instantly collapsing structures. It could pin armored vehicles to the ground, distort projectiles mid-flight, or rip satellites from orbit. Alternatively, by reversing the curvature, it could negate gravity, lifting entire fortifications or creating levitation fields that disrupt enemy formations. The strategic potential is enormous. A military equipped with graviton beam technology would redefine warfare. Traditional kinetic weapons would become obsolete. Defenses would have to shift from armor and shielding to space-time distortion dampeners, devices capable of stabilizing local gravitational fields. Combat strategy itself would evolve from physical positioning to gravitational topology. But the implications go beyond war. Graviton technology would revolutionize every aspect of human civilization. Controlled gravity could enable frictionless transport, floating architecture, and orbital construction on an unimaginable scale. Terraforming efforts could use gravity to move asteroids, shape planetary crusts, or control weather patterns through atmospheric compression. Yet, as with all technologies of immense power, the ethical questions would be staggering. Graviton beam weapons would make nuclear deterrence look primitive. A single graviton cannon could erase a city not by heat or explosion, but by compressing it into a microscopic point. There would be no radiation, no lingering fallout, just the total annihilation of space itself in that region. Would such a weapon be moral to build? Could humanity ever justify its existence? The history of science suggests that what can be built eventually will be. And so, secret projects would likely emerge. Experimental graviton laboratories hidden in deep space or underground bunkers. Research cloaked in the guise of space-time stabilization or advanced propulsion. In these labs, scientists would attempt to harness controlled microsingularities, stabilized by exotic matter rings. These miniature black holes could serve as graviton emitters. By feeding them with dark energy condensates, their gravitational output could be modulated, focused, and amplified. Early models would likely experience catastrophic instability. The containment fields might collapse, creating localized space-time fractures. Entire facilities could vanish in seconds, pulled into self-generated singularities. Only after decades of refinement would the technology mature. Once stable microsingularities could be contained and aimed, the first true graviton beam arrays would emerge, massive orbital stations capable of focusing beams on planetary or interstellar targets. The power consumption would be astronomical, but for advanced civilizations powered by Dyson spheres or antimatter reactors, this would be manageable. The first deployment of such weapons would change interstellar politics forever. A civilization possessing graviton weapons would hold the ultimate deterrent, capable of neutralizing fleets, planets, or even stars. In theory, a graviton pulse focused on a star's core could disrupt its fusion balance, causing a premature supernova. Wars would no longer be fought over territory, but gravitational control. It's not hard to imagine how such weapons could evolve further. With AI control and predictive physics algorithms, graviton systems could analyze the curvature of spacetime across entire solar systems, predicting gravitational shifts caused by enemy ships or celestial events. Fleets could surf gravitational waves generated by their own weapon fire, turning combat into a ballet of warped physics. In peacetime, the same technology could be repurposed for construction and exploration. Graviton emitters could stabilize wormholes, allowing safe interstellar travel. They could lift megastructures, manipulate asteroids for mining, or create artificial gravity environments on moons and space stations. Graviton beam weapons, repurposed, could become graviton constructors, the tools of cosmic engineering. But let's look deeper into how such beams might actually function. Gravity is the curvature of spacetime caused by mass and energy. To create a directed gravitational beam, one would need to artificially induce curvature along a specific vector. One proposed method is graviton field amplification, using supercooled quantum resonators to align virtual gravitons in coherent states. These resonators would act like laser cavities, but for gravity instead of light. The output beam would be a coherent stream of space-time curvature, capable of bending trajectories and compressing targets. The most challenging part would be containment. Unlike photons, gravitons interact extremely weakly with matter, meaning a graviton beam would be almost impossible to focus using conventional mirrors or lenses. Instead, gravitational metamaterials, engineered to shape space-time curvature itself, would act as beam guides. These materials might be composed of exotic negative mass particles or quantum-locked plasma rings, forming channels that direct graviton flow. If such control were achieved, the applications would go far beyond warfare. Graviton beams could be used to manipulate time itself on a local scale. Increased gravitational intensity slows time, so theoretically, a focused graviton beam could create temporal slow zones, areas where time dilation occurs. In combat, that would mean freezing enemies or slowing projectiles mid-air. In research, it could allow scientists to observe slow-motion atomic processes or preserve biological material for centuries. But every technology carries risk. Misuse of graviton beams could tear the fabric of spacetime. Repeated distortions could lead to micro-rifts, regions where the fundamental constants of nature fluctuate unpredictably. An uncontrolled graviton array could destabilize planetary orbit or disrupt the tides of moons. In interstellar warfare, such effects could cascade, altering gravitational fields across entire systems. In fiction and theoretical speculation, graviton beam weapons often appear as the pinnacle of technological evolution, wielded by civilizations that have mastered the universe itself. They symbolize the point where knowledge and power blur into godhood. But in real science, the path toward them is marked by extraordinary hurdles. The unification of general relativity and quantum mechanics, the stabilization of negative energy fields, and the discovery of usable graviton properties. Some researchers suggest that graviton-like effects might be achieved indirectly, through gravitational analogs in quantum fluids or superconductors. For instance, rotating superfluids can mimic space-time curvature on a small scale, potentially leading to tabletop experiments in gravity manipulation. These early steps could one day evolve into macro-scale systems capable of gravitational control. As our understanding deepens, so too will our ethical responsibility. Graviton beam weapons would force humanity to confront the question, should we control the fundamental forces of nature for domination or for creation? The same beam that could destroy a planet could also stabilize it against asteroid impacts. The same singularity generator that could collapse a city could lift it into orbit. The line between weapon and tool will blur. The most advanced civilizations may choose not to use graviton weapons at all, not out of fear, but enlightenment. They may harness gravity only for harmony, reshaping planets, balancing ecosystems, or sculpting stars into art. But for a civilization still burdened by conflict and greed, the temptation would be too great. The first to master graviton weaponry would possess near total supremacy. Entire worlds could surrender without a shot fired, knowing that resistance would mean annihilation at the level of spacetime itself. And so, in the cosmic balance between knowledge and power, graviton beam weapons stand as both warning and promise. They are the ultimate expression of scientific mastery, and the ultimate test of wisdom. Humanity's future will depend not just on whether we can build them, but on whether we should. Because when you can bend gravity, you can bend destiny itself. Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment to share your thoughts, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Your support helps this channel grow. Thank you for watching.